Dear friends, 4-year-old Jerry asked his father, "Papa, are you afraid of a cow?" The father proudly answered, "No, my child." Jerry continued, "Are you afraid of rain?" "No, my child," was the answer once again. Jerry continued to ask whether his father was afraid of lion, lightning, thunder, etc. And the recurrent answer of his father was, "No, my child." Finally, Jerry said to his father, "Papa, you are really a brave man. I am very happy about you. You are afraid of nothing in the world except Mama." Dear friends, each one of us have got something or the other in our lives about which we are afraid. In today's gospel, we see how the disciples were engulfed by fear. It is said that Jesus came to the disciples at the 4th watch of the night. The Jews had divided the whole night into 4 watches. The first watch of the night is from evening 6 to 9. The second watch from 9 to 12. The third watch from 12 to early morning 3. And the fourth watch is from 3 to 6. So Jesus might have come to the disciples somewhere between 3 to 4. That is why the NRSV translation says that Jesus came to his disciples in the early morning. Even though it was Jesus who came to them, the disciples' fear was such that they thought that it was a ghost. In Tamil, there is a proverb, "Arandavan kannukku irandadallam pei." It means that for a person in fear, everything is a ghost. The first reading speaks of another person who was living in fear. It was Elijah. We all know what happened on Mount Carmel, 1 King chapter 18. There Elijah proved that Yahweh, not Baal, as the true God. It led to the slaughter of the false prophets of Baal. When Jezebel, the queen and the promoter of Baal worship, came to know of this, she uttered, "So may the gods do to me and more also, if I do not make your life like the life of the one of them by this time tomorrow." 1 King chapter 19 verse 2. This made Elijah be afraid and flee for life. It is indeed strange that Elijah, who proved that Yahweh was the true God, ran for life out of fear. It points out that Elijah's experience of God was not always constant and continuous. Dear friends, when we come to our life, we do know that fear is not something foreign to us. We are afraid of people around us. We are afraid that we may fail in our endeavor. We are afraid of our future. Many people, especially men, try to wear a mask of aggression and arrogance and show that they don't have any fear in them. It is because they associate fear with cowardliness, and with aggression they try to show that they are not cowards. But it is better to note that aggression, arrogance, etc. are mere cover-ups, and through them many try to hide their fear. One important outcome of fear is worry. So how much we worry indicates how much we are afraid. Today's readings also point out an important way to overcome fear. Elijah, when afraid, flees to Horeb, the mount of God, to feel the presence of God. There we see that God revealed himself to him not in sound and noise, but in sound of sheer silence. It was a reassurance for Elijah that God's presence was with him, though he failed to experience it now and then. This experience of God's presence made him overcome his fear and be courageous to oppose Ahab and Jezebel head on. In today's gospel, when Jesus said, "Be courageous, it is I," we see that his disciples' fear vanished. Feeling the presence of Jesus emboldened them. Even Jesus also got his courage and strength by feeling the ever-abiding presence of God the Father. We see that he was praying on mountain till the third watch, that is till 3 a.m. That means he spent almost the whole night in prayer. For Jesus, prayer was nothing but an occasion to experience God's ever-abiding presence. It was this experience of God's presence that enabled him to face all sorts of problems without any fear. There is a story said about a Zen monastery in Japan. Once the master of that monastery was giving a talk to his disciples. It so happened that at that time there was a slight earthquake. All the disciples ran out of the building to safeguard their lives. But the master did not move an inch from his place. He just closed his eyes and continued to sit in the same place. When the tremor stopped, the students came into the building. A disciple asked him, "Master, are you not afraid of earthquake? We all ran for life, but you did not." The master answered, "Who will not be afraid of earthquake? I too am afraid of earthquake. So like you, I too ran for my life." His answer puzzled the students. The questioner continued to ask, "Master, I don't understand your statement that you too ran like us. None of us saw you running. In fact, you did not move an inch." The master answered, "Oh, I too ran like you. But the difference between you and me was that all of you ran from inside to outside, but I ran from outside to inside." These words of master further puzzled the students. So looking at their eyes and knowing that they did not understand his answer, he continued, "You ran from inside of the building to outside of it. However, I, through meditation, moved from outer consciousness into inner consciousness. I went into meditation so that I may not be affected by the danger of the earthquake." Dear friends, all problems of our lives exist only at the surface level, as there are waves only on the surface of the sea. In the inner core of us is always beyond tribulation and suffering. If we constantly move towards this inner core, which is nothing but God's presence in us, then there is no place for fear in our life. Marianne Williamson, the author of the book A Return to Love and a Spiritual Teacher, says this: "Love is what we were born with. Fear is what we learned here. The spiritual journey is a relinquishment or unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love back into our hearts." Let us conclude our reflections with the prayer of Thomas Merton. "O Lord, I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. Amen."